Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's everyone's night going? Welcome back to another episode of Mir Musk, the Augie, because I don't want to pronounce your name. How will you pronounce your name for everyone in here, sir? Because I don't want to get it
My
wrong.
name is Agostinho Zinga, and I do a show called the Agostinho Zinga Show, as well as the Random Show on my YouTube channel, where I live stream whenever I'm basically not, coming down from a hangover or whatever else I'm coming down from.
Of course, that's
Mm.
the best way to do it, buddy. But
Yeah,
it's
and
great to have you on
I
here.
found Agostino. He's a prolific streamer, and he's like my dark skinned brother. He loves all the same shit I love. When I watch his stuff, it's like he has the same idea
Right.
and perspective on a lot of things. So I was like, dude, we got to get this guy on to break down some of our shared interests. But he also has a big channel and streams all the time. So for sure, go check him out on that. But yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here, man. And yeah, Lil Mir is new, probably a little newer to it, but
Yes,
we
I'm
just wanted
very
to
new.
we wanted to interview you a little bit, and
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Convince
here,
me to
man.
be a fan. That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
right now.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here to hang.
so
Let's do
so how did you get into the streaming game? What got you into it?
Streaming games a bit of a long one. I guess I got into it kind of via podcast. So I'm an OG sort of like JRE fanboy. So
Yeah.
I was listening to those podcasts. I think I might have started first. My first episode might have been like around the 400 mark. So maybe like 408, 409 was the first sort of like Jerry episode I ever listened to. From there, I started listening to Bill Burr. From there, I started listening to probably your mum's house maybe a few years later. But basically in that kind of orbit. And then from that orbit, I was also kind of watching loads of YouTubers, random ones online. And then the streaming thing, the first person who I kind of probably saw streaming who I maybe wanted to copy and emulate. I don't really know, to be fair. It might have been some of the OG Twitch people. It might have been some of the OG Twitch people when that sort of started. And then I guess when I started making videos, it was first a lot of commentary stuff going on at the time. The commentary community was really big.
Yep.
No one was really doing live stream commentary stuff on YouTube at the time that I started anyway. And then when I started doing the commentary stuff, someone randomly sent me a Red Bar clip and I was like, oh shit, that's the same sort of stuff that I want to do. And then I started like doing a lot more live streaming that way because I didn't know that people were doing that. I just assumed people were just doing more of those kind of topical news story type of show things, giving
Right.
their opinion on current topics, no, current news topics, as opposed to like stuff happening within like the podcast world or within whatever subculture you're in. So it was a bit of a roundabout way, a bit of a long way to go around it, but
Hey,
you know,
found your
spending
way.
enough time, yeah, spending enough time on the internet, as I'm sure most of you guys know, spending enough time on YouTube, you're gonna find this shit, and it's either you like it or you don't, but you're definitely gonna see it at least once. So when I saw it once, I was like, you know what, I'm one of those people that I have to have something like on in the background or listening to it on one earphone. So having just some random person around the world, you know, ranting and raving about fucking
Right.
about Wings of Redemption or Boogie 2998, I'm gonna be listening to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you so I have a similar type background in the podcasting. I'd heard Rogan and then heard all those West Coast guys that he kind of birthed. And then I also Red Bar kind of is like the godfather of this type of like commentary and critique
OG.
of live stuff. So I'm in the same boat, and it's interesting because some of these guys you start off as a fan and you consume several hundred hours of them, and eventually you can't take it anymore and you turn on them, right? You've seen that with a lot of people with PF Chang's and the Brendan Schaub effect that's happened. A lot of people have started
Making him the joke now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think you eventually turn on people that you listen to. I don't think that's the case. I think you turn on the ones that are fucking shit or the ones that turn into be fucking cunts. I don't think. I think we people online do this a lot where it's almost like this thing that people do. I heard someone say this other thing as well. I've been thinking about where people are like, "Oh, no one's successful. Criticizes somebody else as successful," and it's almost like a weird cope to sort of like protect yourself from any type of criticism, because if the person is criticizing you, by default that person isn't successful, because in your head you've given yourself this idea that anyone that talks shit about you has to be somebody that isn't doing as well, when the reality is everybody talks shit. And I think everybody is prone to turning their audience against them. And I'm somebody, I'm quite sympathetic to how that happens. I understand why that can happen. Like if you're like us, right? We're in our bedrooms, spare rooms, wherever we're in now. If one day our stuff kicks off and we're suddenly in a fucking complex with fucking, 7 Ford F-150s outside,
Right.
fucking
Pigeons in our laps, all that shit.
fucking pictures on like a marine outside the door with a fucking Glock ready to tear someone's head off, like adoring fans, crates and crates of fucking Black Rifle coffee. I get why you turn into a cunt. I understand it. But it's my right as a fucking human to point and laugh at you. You can't then turn around and call me a loser because I was a fan of yours when you started on episode 1, and at episode number 45, you now turn into a cunt because you made loads of money. You turn into a cunt, fair enough, but I'm also allowed to point and laugh. So I think that is basically what's happened with a lot of these guys. So I think there are people out there. I can think of many. Even Bill Burr is a good example. I've been listening to Bill Burr for ages, and he hasn't lost me. Other podcasts have lost me, like Your Mum's House and stuff. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's not their fault. I'm not mad at them for it. It's just unfortunate when you invest that much time into a show, and then the very thing that you love them for, you start to hate them for because they kind of turn. But I don't think it's across the board. I think some people just, they just keep on doing what they're doing, and it's okay. I think a Joey Diaz is another one, a good example. I don't really think he might have bought he may have bored his audience. I don't think he's turned them, but I think there are some people who just have a special ability to just be incapable of
I was surprised
being likable.
I was surprised with Boogie. I didn't understand the turn on him, honestly. Did you ever understand that? I mean, I thought he was always kind of a nice guy.
He's got a lot of reasons to be. He's got a lot of reasons. He's got a lot of there was that quote that Elon Musk said on Joe Rogan about when I think the first episode of Rogan when Elon was on there, Rogan was bemused that he didn't have like a mansion and a gold house and a Lamborghini. And I think Elon Musk made a really good point to basically said people already hate me, so I don't want to give them more attack vectors to kind of hate me. So I kind of rid myself of all that. I'm kind of simple. I'm not wearing Gucci and shit. I don't have some bimbo on my arm. So it kind of keeps all the criticism to just the things that I say or the things that I do. So I think unfortunately Boogie has a lot of attack vectors. And I think one of them, and this is something we have to be very honest about and clear when it comes to content creation, he's just a very, very fat man. Yeah, I think very, very fat people, unfortunately, online and in real life, there's just something in us that we just instantly hate them. I don't know what it is about people that are fat that you just kind of have to work on it, and then you meet someone, oh my god, he or she's really nice, and then you kind of, oh, they're all right. But your instant reaction when you see someone like a Boogie or a Wings and they're making 100K per year sitting doing nothing, being poor entertainers, snapping at their audience, having horrible takes, whatever, it's easy to not like them. So in Boogie's case, I think if anything, he started off pretty decent because maybe he kept his personal life kind of private. I watched quite a lot of documentaries about him, but I think the more he started to open his life up and started to show people what he's like, I think people start to realize, oh shit, you're a bit weird. You do some odd shit. You're into some weird stuff. You're not very likable, and it just turned them. And I think it's a good thing though, because I think what he's done is that he's shown people unapologetically who he is. So if you're with him now, you're with him for the long term. There's no there's no sugarcoating it or trying to change your mind or whatever. Boogie is what he is, but unfortunately, with all that opening the doors to your fucking bedroom and people seeing how young your girlfriend is, all this sort of shit.
Right. I mean, it is what it is. If she's 12, 13, don't what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's with the age gap,
it's Arkansas, man. Anything goes down there, bro.
With the whole age gap thing, I generally don't care. In general, as long as the persons are consenting, I really don't give a fuck. I just think it's unfortunate for someone like him because he has already so many things working against him. Then you pop out with this girl that's clearly has her issues in her own life that she's going through, and she's incredibly young. Yeah. And she he couldn't have picked an older looking young girl. She looks very young. She has a very innocent, pale face. She's almost kind of meek. Yeah, it's come on, Boogie, come on, bro. You couldn't have picked one that just looked maybe normal, kind of mid-20s or something. You had to pick someone that looked like she's 17 or looked like she's 14. It's come on, bro. But maybe he enjoys that thing. So all praise to be to him. If they're happy and they're enjoying themselves, what can you do?
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
I'm not really familiar with that guy. I've seen him around on streams, but there's a guy that you were covering recently that he was getting all mad at it was on one of your streams where you're doing the fra with the FR. Who was that guy again?
DSP.
DSP. Yeah. So what's his deal? Because people were saying, yeah, go ahead on him.
He's the only content creator, I think, or person online who I actively wish all the worst for. There's no one else I'd like. I think you said earlier before, oh, do you hate Brendan? I don't hate anybody. None of them at comedy scene. I just laugh at them. But I think DSP will be the closest person that I would say he's closest to me hating. I don't hate him, but he's closest to me hating him just because of how he conducts himself. So DSP, also known as Dark Side Phil, also known as Phil Brunel, is this content creator that's been around for like 15 plus years.
Yeah.
And he essentially his whole thing that he does is that he's like the most prolific content creator because he's streaming he's the most prolific streamer, I guess he calls himself, because he streams 6 days a week, 2 times per day. But he only does that because he basically begs his audience for money.
Yeah,
so every stream, every stream, he basically has a goal of $150 that he wants to reach in tips alone. Yeah, like in tips alone, though. He's not talking super chats. He wants that clean money through into his PayPal. He doesn't want any of that fucking super chat shit that's going to be delayed for a month. No. So he wants $300 6 days per week from his audience all the time. And there are occasions on DSP stream, right, where he streams in the morning, he gets $150. He streams in a PM, and he doesn't get $100, and he legitimately starts crying and complaining and whinging and moaning as if the whole week he didn't make any money. It's like, bro, you just made $150 like a couple of hours ago. Like, it's not that bad. Like, relax. But regardless, all that to say, on top of that, he's also incredibly like obstinate, incredibly rude. He takes advantage of his fans, who are, unfortunately, for whatever reason, he seems to have attracted a fan base of like people who are very developmentally challenged, very vulnerable, easy to kind of manipulate and shit. So all that stuff is very dark and very sad. And then, of course, on the other side of it, he lies a lot about what he does with his money. He spends it all on this kind of gambling app thing that he's got called WWE Champions.
And that's nice.
So there's all this kind of weird, fucked up shit that he does that's very much deplorable. And then, of course, things that he says on stream, how he attacks people, how he basically refuses to take any sort of criticism or pushback.
Is his content just like attacking people or something?
No, not really. So basically, he streams games. He plays games. So he streams twice a day. He plays a game. He'll pick a game in the AM to play, and he'll basically, he'll try to complete it in whatever time you can complete it, but he'll basically break it up. He spends an insane amount of time just talking about nonsense. He'll talk about. I think there's a bit of him that maybe he might have some tism involved. I'm not really too sure.
Like a tick or something.
Yeah, he obsesses over his schedule. He obsesses over like what game to play. He wants his fans to tell him what game to play. But when they tell him what game to play, he gets offended if it's not the right one. And it's all this weird sort of like
cycle that he goes through.
Psycho behavior shit going on.
And you found that, and you're like,
yeah. And then on top of that, he's just a very, very like viscerally unlikable person. Like the kind of person that people say, oh yeah, this person, like, you wish. This person's the kind of person that should have got punched in the face at least once in their life.
They're just a cunt.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing. He's just a bona fide cunt. And again, it's not his fault. It's probably more so to do with his parents and his upbringing. And also, he's done a very good job of like isolating himself from any kind of real world contact. Like, he's a proper shut-in. He doesn't leave his house really, apart from one day to do groceries. He barely talks to his wife and shit. He's a very odd dude. Like, he kind of only exists on his live stream, but then he doesn't think his fans are his friends. Like, he's a strange dude. And then all of that just makes him an incredibly unlikable person that you're just rooting against. But he's also got this weird thing which is called this pig luck, or this what they call it? They call him the pig roach. So they call him the pig because he's got this particular laugh that he does where he's almost like
he squeals
like a pig. But then they call him a roach because he somehow always finds a way to kind of survive. So despite him being a complete cunt, despite him lying and cheating his audience out of whatever, he seems to always just hang on. Yeah, he's just, I don't know how he does it, basically. So that's one of the entertaining things about watching him. It's like, it's going to end, but you don't know when it's going to end, because it's been 15 years now, and I'm telling you he's a bad person, but he still seems to be.
Does he know about you and how you cover him and everything like that?
It's not me. I'm not. I'm a minor person when it comes to covering him. There's many big channels out there that cover him. There's Snort Burnell, there's Snort Hogan. There's there's a specific podcast that only covers him called That Being Said. That's amazing. There's a guy called Maycat Mob that covers him. There's a guy called Duty Streams that covers it. Like
Jesus Christ.
If you type Dark Side Phil,
Yeah.
he's got an entire community of people, detractors that he calls them. He's got an entire page. He's got an entire page on fucking Kiwi Farms dedicated to him. People fucking love people hate him. And like, as the comment said, he's old school YouTube. He's been around since the beginning. And that's part of his luck, to be honest. Like, he got in at the start when the competition was really, there was no competition. There was not much people on there, and because he was streaming so often and he was making content so often, he was able to just spam his way to success. And because of that, he's been able to kind of ride it out. But the really weird and perverse thing, if you kind of do your research, you'll find out that essentially he's been held up. His entire career has been held, like he's been held up making $100,000 per year by like 3 or 4 whales. Like 3 or 4 pay pigs are the ones that are like propping up his entire career, which is incredibly precarious, but also is a testament to how lucky he is to get in at the beginning, despite his foes. And also, he's also terrible at games, by the way. He has this whole other community of people who like hate him because he plays games really bad.
And he's shit.
He's basically shit at games, and he spurned this whole trend of these videos called "This Is How You Don't Play," where people basically do compilations of him playing particular games and pointing out, "Oh, this is how you don't play this particular game. This guy's terrible." And despite all of that, he's been able to survive because he's been around for a long time. So he's one of the people who I think, if there was one person that I could feel like I could hate, and again, I can't even hate him because it's just you can't help who you are. But he doesn't have many his only redeemable quality, I would say, is his consistency in putting out stuff. Like he rarely misses a week of stream. Like he rarely misses a day, if anything.
And that is key, I think. Honestly,
so I think all those years, and even though he's begging for money and he's horrible and he's really entitled and like I said, he's a cunt with it, he's always fucking there, come rain or shine. So I think that might be part of his success, but yeah, he's a real piece of shit.
He sounds like a nice guy to me.
He's a real piece of shit.
Yeah, I never really watched a lot of his stuff, but you covered him, and then I guess people were sending them some memberships that were like at a discount price or pennies on the dollar, and then people started doing that in this Dabbleverse, which is now people are doing that to people in to Stuttering John and Shuli and Nobody Likes Onions and all these guys.
So explain that to me. What is that? So memberships are now like pennies on a dollar? What is this?
Yeah, I guess you can send a membership from a foreign country in South America, and then instead of being like the $5 membership, it's like a 15-cent membership. So I don't know. Yeah,
that's the thing that's brilliant. That's the thing that's really cruel about this troll is that when I initially heard of it, I thought that people were paying, instead of, if you got membership that's $5, I thought people were just paying $1.50. I was like, okay, it's not a lot, but still, it's something. But people are literally, like he said, are paying pennies for these memberships. Yeah. So they're spamming them. And I guess in the beginning, some of these content creators, especially DSP, is a good example because that's the only one that I kind of knew it was happening to. He was getting excited because he was assuming that those memberships were like membership billed in USD. So he was like already counting them. Like he was, because he's obsessed with money. He's obsessed with he spends it all on his gambling thing. So he was already pre-spending it. Then he realized it was all pennies, and he was like, "Oh shit," or cents, whatever it is. And that's when he started to get irate. And it's an odd thing because I think with all these guys that you're talking about, the annoying thing about this sort of thing is that it doesn't really matter, innit, if people pay whatever currency for membership. But these guys are like too focused on like the money side and not just creating fun content for their audience to kind of watch and consume. That whole membership thing consumes them because they only really turn on their streams to make money. They're not really turning on their streams to be entertaining, to provide a good show. That's a really sad thing. And I think for me personally, and again, we're good examples of it. Like I don't know. The reason why I fell in love with this shit is because it's just kind of
Fun.
renegade
I love
DIY
it.
fun
It's just
shit.
fun, bro.
It's just like it's basically like turning on the camera if you're playing fucking Call of Duty back in the
Just
day.
talking
You know
shit,
what I mean?
having
Just
fun.
chatting shit, trying to get under people's skin, just trying to have a good time, laugh, maybe make some friends. And the
Right.
fact that it's now I get why people are turning to money, because on the other side, like we're here talking to our audience, and on the other side, you've got these fucking 22-year-olds on Kick and stuff making millions of dollars. So I understand
Right.
that the allure of it is like, you know, it's there, and if you can do it, why not? But you know, those type of dudes, like really, like,
And you can tell, like with some shows, how they kind of direct just towards just waiting for the next super chat, and
Yeah.
they're just dead air. It's just like, dude,
Just-
this show's
just
become shit at this point.
staring at the chat, like just staring at it. Like,
You're just waiting, like,
Yeah.
someone super chat me now. It's like, come on, bro. Like, it's starting to get
Yeah.
obvious, and I don't know how you can really just feel good about yourself as an entertainer producing that type of content out. You know, feeling good about it, because at some point in time, it's
which is
gotta
why that
affect you.
which is why that troll is perfect, because that troll plays into the thing that they want the most, and it takes the piss out of it. It's like, oh, you want memberships, right? You want your members to get high? You want to feel like a big dog? Here you go. Here's 1,000 memberships from fucking Argentina. They're probably worth $10. Enjoy. Enjoy. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And then that's a fine line, because part of the thing that really grows engagement or an audience is the interaction with the chat. So you do want to like cater to them and create something, but then you also want to do content. You don't want to be independent of the audience too. So it is like a fine line, and some people go
I
straight
fucking
down
hate
that.
our chat. Our chat sucks. I hate them all.
Yeah, our chat. Well, I mean that we
I'm
don't
kidding, I love
we
you
don't do
guys.
super chats, but that's the thing. And then another guy who's built up a huge community that I know you are into, that I really like your content for, is Brendan Shaw, Papa.
oh yeah,
And
Papa. Oh, you gotta love Papa. I love him.
yeah,
Man. I love him.
yeah.
I love
Me and you have a similar take on him. We really get a kick out of all of his antics. I know there's a lot of people who can't stand him, or you know, but what's your read on what's been going on with him lately?
He's a weird one for me, because I'm also very honest in my stuff that I do. In like, I started off as a fan of The Fire and the Kid. I was listening to it with like, I think I listened to The Fire and the Kid before I realized they were even friends with Rogan. I didn't make that connection. I was so kind of, I think maybe because I wasn't on Reddit or something, I didn't really know what was what. I just listened to Rogan because I saw it somewhere randomly, maybe on my like podcast app or something, or maybe I had it on my iPod. I don't know. I was really kind of like, everything was kind of segmented, and I randomly stumbled across Brendan and Brian Callen on The Fire and the Kid, and I love that concept of like, oh, here's the fighter, that's the comedian. They have this kind of good banter and shit, and they're trying to figure out their kind of career in Hollywood at the same time. And it was quite fun and entertaining. And I maintain, I will die on that hill, that the original Fire and the Kid was actually really good. It wasn't shit as it was now. So it turned into shit over time. But the weird thing about those guys, I think, which is kind of different to what we were talking about before, about you know, can you go into starting off liking somebody and then hating them because they turn?
Right.
It's not like you end up hating the Fire and the Kid guys. It's just been kind of a bummer to see how
The decline.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just more of a decline. It's not even like they have really, you know, made people
Made you want to hate them. It's
not
just the
really,
show's
to be
kind of
fair. It's just a decline. And I think the other side thing about it, the part two of it, is that unfortunately for them, for OG fans like myself, it's just a decline. But for people that don't know them or don't care for the show, they just also do a lot of things that would make them unlikable. So they have these two weird groups of people. They have these OG fans that are just bummed out and maybe have some secret hope that it's going to get better. And then they also have a group of fans who only have seen them because of the dumb things Brendan has said, the controversies around Brian, the shows that they've been on together with Rogan, and they've kind of just realized, hold on, this person isn't cool, that person is cool, and it's now something that they can't really shake. And it's gotten so bad now that it's really hard to even discern if they've even, like, they're one of the only content creators out there who I see who I'm not really even too sure if they have more fans than haters. I think most people have more fans than haters, but with those guys specifically,
or something.
yeah, I just can't work it out. I'm not too sure. Like, I don't know if their numbers are real. I don't know. Like, it's just all weird, you know.
Who was the Jewish guy? Klein. I forgot his first name. Ah, God damn it. He has a wife. She's from Israel.
Oh, yeah, Ethan
Ethan
Klein.
Klein.
H3. Yeah,
What
H3.
was the blonde bitch that he was doing a show with for a little bit? That was like his.
Fucking Trisha Paytas.
Dude, that was brilliant. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh,
Did you ever
that was
watch
really
that
good
shit
show.
at
Yeah,
all,
of course, of
bro?
course, of course. It was, I think, I forgot what it was called. Maybe it was called Trash something. That's actually a good show. That was actually quite sad as well, to be fair, how they broke up. If I'm not if I'm not mistaken, it had something to do with and I don't know if she did it on purpose, but I think that Trisha Paytas girl ends up hooking up with.
No, bro. I thought she was married to the.
No. Listen, hear me out. As I was saying, I don't know if she did it on purpose. I don't know if she did it on purpose.
Okay.
Somehow that Trisha Paytas woman ends up hooking up with H3's wife's brother.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess they also had their own issues, brother and sister. Then, that Trisha Paytas woman, she's a bit eccentric. So it's why people wouldn't like her.
Yeah.
And then on air, Ethan and Trisha have their issues. That then leads to the show stopping, but then it also creates a split in the family. So now there's a split in the family between people who are like with Trisha and H3 wife's brother and the other side. So it's like, oh, so ugly, like so fucking ugly. So that was quite funny to see that whole kind of fallout happen live on TV on stream.
I remember the pizza episode. You remember that?
No, I don't remember the pizza episode.
Dude, you gotta look that up. You gotta look up Ethan Klein Trisha pizza. That is some of the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen. They go get goddamn pizza or something like that, and they get it wrong, and she's like blaming her husband and the Israeli girl, Ethan Klein's wife, on purpose or some shit like that, and because she can't eat
incredible.
it.
It's incredible. And now have you seen
shit?
Have you seen all the clips of like people pulling up clips of Hila, that's her name, talking about serving in the IDF and how she enjoyed going on ride outs and killing random Palestinians. People are finding some crazy.
No, I've not seen that, bro.
Because that's the thing. If you remember early episodes of H3 podcasts, she used to. Now she doesn't, obviously, because like the temperature and the sentiment around Israel has kind of changed. But in the early episodes, she was quite open about her experience serving in the Israeli Defense Force when she was younger, because it's obviously, it's something that you have to do as a.
Right, you're forced to do it.
Yeah, you're forced to do it.
For the
So
good of the country.
She spoke about it quite openly. So some people are going back and re-watching some of those clips, and there's some gnarly bits in there. You're like, what? You did what? You went on a ride out? Like,
like, what does that mean? What's ride out mean? You killed some Palestinians? Was good.
Were they armed? Were they children? Like,
they're just farmers, Hey, man, it don't matter, bro. They're just cockroaches. It's all good. Well, I got another question for you, real quick, though. So you kind of fell into Red Bar. What point of Red Bar did you actually start watching? Like, what season were you kind of falling into it? Was it right at Brandon Shop, or was it while he was on Compound Media?
No, it was definitely around the Benjo. I don't really know much about his compound media history. It was right around the time when I was like getting into talking about a lot of the comedians, and I stumbled across his content because he was also covering the same people I was covering, and even more, he was also covering some of the older dudes I don't really know too well, because I wasn't really plugged into like American radio. So I only really found most of the podcast guys. I didn't know most of the radio dudes and shit. That Pacific, I don't know what's that Pacific radio show everyone talks about. Opie and Anthony. So he talked about a lot of those type of good dudes. I didn't really know not much about them because that didn't really come over to my side of the internet. But I saw Red Bar mostly because of the Brendan stuff, a lot of the Rogan stuff, a lot of the other Tom Segura stuff and shit, whatever. And I just loved the fact that he was going extra hard, because I remember when I was doing it, in the early days, I remember feeling kind of bad because I felt like, because I don't know why, this is a dumb thing because these guys have podcasts and shows with like thousands of listeners, but I almost felt like I was the only person that felt like that. So I was like, oh, like I'm gonna be ruining people's fun. Like I don't want to ruin someone's fun. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh man, I'm gonna point out something, and you're now not gonna be able to unsee it. It's gonna ruin your fun of the pod. So it kind of made me feel kind of bad. But then I saw Red Bar and I was like, wow.
You're like, fuck it. And then he had Sven, the racist Sven. I love Sven. We tried to get him on the show a few times, but he was saying Hail Hitler a lot, so I don't know about that. But
that's a racy guest. But when I saw Red Bar and I saw how hard he was going, I was thinking, oh, okay, I'm perfectly fine. But I also love the fact that he existed, because I thought there was a period in time, especially when there was that big podcast boom and everyone was in LA. There was just, I don't know about you, but there was just too much, there was too much fucking you know, there's too much holding hands and lovey-dovey.
Kumbaya, everyone's friends here. Like, no,
Yeah.
motherfucker. In real life, no, not a lot of us are friends. That's not
Yeah,
how this
like
shit works.
I detested that. So I
Right.
did like that he purposely did set the cat amongst the pigeons. One particular period of Red Bar for me that I really did love, and I thought that was really like below the belt and kind of wild, was when he started going at Andrew Santino. Andrew Santino is
Yeah,
his
I remember
podcast
that.
with Bobby Lee, but at the time he wasn't that well known. I don't think he even did Bad Friends. So Andrew Santino's like at that time was a very like auxiliary, almost like outside character. And Red Bar somehow, with his fucking research and whatever, he was able to find out that this guy was cheating on his wife with some random girl. He got the girl to call in. She sent message like, I was just like, bro, this guy's destroying this man's life just for the fun of it.
So you're British,
Yeah.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I'm assuming you're a Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, and
Of course,
and
yeah.
what was the other guy's name that was on that radio show? Fuck, they're mentally challenged, but he wasn't mentally challenged, but he's very kind of slow.
Name escapes me now too. Name escapes me. He just popped into my head now.
Yeah, he had a show. It's called Idiot Abroad.
Yeah. Something Pilkington. What's his name?
Carl Pilkington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever listen to that show and listen to how those guys riffed and how they did their thing? Or
Yeah, I mostly watched the shows. I didn't really listen to the radio shows. I think, to be honest, a lot of our, similar to you guys in the States, a lot of our radio consumption, people that listen to radio usually drive, and I don't drive. So a lot of my podcast listening comes directly from podcasts. So I missed out on a lot of that sort of shit. So it kind of maybe explains why the boom over here has been so crazy with pods and shit, because people, you know, the majority
love to listen. Yeah.
because the majority of people don't, you know, the majority of people don't drive and shit. But obviously, the people that do radio shows also have podcast shows or something of that kind of ilk. So that obviously took up. And then of course, Ricky Gervais had shows, TV shows actually, obviously at The Office and shit.
Yeah.
You know, that he was obviously doing, and other bits and bobs that were really, really popular. And he's just kind of a bit of a staple over here in the UK. So that stuff was always kind of really popular. So he kind of was a bit of a triple threat all round type of guy. And you know, it's kind of back then it was really impossible not to find his stuff and shit.
Right.
It was everywhere. Yeah.
So are you born in England, or are you?
No, I was born in Angola. I was born in Angola, which is a country just above South Africa. It's in the southern hemisphere of Africa. I came here when I was about 3 years old and shit.
Nice.
But yeah, so I've been here ever since.
You love it?
You know, in this fucking pesky country. It's decent. The only thing I don't love is the weather. I've always said I think the UK, forget London, but the UK would be perfect if we had a summer where we had consistently the same temperature for 2 months in the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, and I'm even willing to go as far as like, give me 6 weeks where I know every day from this date to the end, it's going to be the same temperature. That's the thing that's really annoying. Like, you can have a week of like incredibly scorching hot weather, super nice.
And it
You
gets
got your vest
dreary.
out, you got your shorts on, and then the next day it's raining, or even in the evening it's fucking raining, it's snowing, it's fucking too temperamental all over the place. That's what
Right.
makes it kind of hard because, you know, whatever. And it's really depressing also because when it is warm and it is nice, the UK kind of it gets a new lease of life. People are like smiling at you on the streets and shit. They'll say hi.
Handing out beers at the pub.
Yeah, someone might buy you a fucking pint and shit or a shot, or they might give you a little, you know, give you a little fucking tug if you're lucky.
Hey, my
But
boy.
when it's raining and shit,
Yeah.
it completely changes the scent. You know, the mood is completely awful. So this country would benefit a lot from just having a really solid summer. But you know, considering where we are on the globe, considering where we are on the map, it's just never going to happen. Unfortunately, we're basically an island made up of fucking crazy weather spots and shit.
You need to move to Wales, bro. That's where it's at, man.
Wales is nice. I've heard that's nice. I've heard that's nice. Do you live in Wales?
No, my people are from Wales. I've been to Wales. I've been to Isle of Man.
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, really?
It's a very beautiful place.
Isle of
You'll
Man's
love it.
fucking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I went there a few times for, I think, a school trip. I think a lot of people we do. Yeah, a lot of schools in the UK will do geography type of field trips there, or places like in Devon.
Because it only takes one day to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Collecting, you know, mud samples and shit and looking at the worms, all that nonsense.
Nice, man. And another thing you're into is fashion, right? I've
Yeah,
caught
yeah,
some of
yeah,
your
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So what?
Unfortunately, so. Unfortunately, so.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite fashion designers, houses, that type of stuff?
It's just too many to mention, really. I kind of got into that mostly because I went to like a fashion-based university. I did design there. I did product design. And I've always kind of been into streetwear. I used to skate a lot when I was younger as well. So I just kind of got into that sort of stuff because it's kind of easy to get into, and
Right.
it's kind of cool to kind of fuck up and change up your clothes and shit. And then obviously over time, the fashion thing just became an extension of just wanting to make sure I didn't wear the same things everyone else was wearing. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, with that stuff, you end up spending a lot of money. You end
Yep.
up getting caught in trend cycles. You end up fucking, traveling to far-flung places to buy shirts and shit from somebody's, fucking
The
car
artists
boot or
want bread
something.
too from it, bro.
What's that?
The artists want bread from the fucking clothes too they're making, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So all that stuff kind of makes it difficult. But in terms of brands, too many to mention. Probably the Peter favorite, Balenciaga is one of my faves. Rick Owens, I love. Louis Vuitton at the moment is doing some good stuff. Comme des Garçons is a Japanese one I'm a
Yeah.
particular fan of. You got staples like in streetwear, like Supreme, Stussy, all those type of brands I'm always kind of obsessed with. I'm still buying like old Bape stuff from like Japan and stuff. I keep
Yeah.
buying
That's
from time to
tough.
time from when Nigo was running it. So all that stuff I'm, generally kind of like obsessively, weirdly spend way too much time on. I've got an entire stack over there of like magazines from like Japan from like the early 90s and early 2000s of
That's
like
tough.
with all this dumb stuff that I spent way too much money on, and I just sometimes will flick through it just to kind of look at the stuff.
Make sure the dust doesn't collect too high up.
That's all the stuff I like too. Is all the Japanese stuff. Like I love buying old Capital, old Bape, old
Yeah.
undercover stuff.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know how it is, man. Like, unfortunately, it's one of those bugs that just never leaves you. I think it's just similar to guys that are just into sport and stuff. It's just one of those things that even if you don't follow it as much, it's just gonna stay with you. You're gonna always keep an eye on it. Your day might get ruined if your team loses or if you miss
Right.
out on a certain piece.
If you get a
didn't-
stain on your shirt, you're like, fuck.
yeah, it's just like, that's happened to me way too many times. So
Oh, dude, it's
it's
horrible.
an unfortunate part of my makeup, but it is what it is.
I'm lucky I didn't go crazy with sneakers. Like I have
Ooh.
some, but like at the same time, I didn't go nuts. Like I don't have any Jordans, and
No
Yeah,
yay?
I have a bunch of Yeezys, but it was all stuff I wanted. It was all like I never collected like for this. I didn't get into the whole hustle of it and like having to get everything. I didn't go Papa style with it, where it's like got to have everything. And
nah, his version of a sneakerhead is fucking shit. Like I was kind of fortunate as well. I think similar to you, I was thinking about it. I was kind of fortunate too because I kind of grew up really poor anyway.
Right.
So like when it came to I had loads of shoes, but when I had them, I had to share them with my brothers because we didn't have much. So I couldn't just like hoard hundreds of like Air Maxes for myself or Jordans because my brothers literally had like
They're
one
gonna
pair of
take
shoes.
that shit. Like, take that shit right off your
Yeah.
fucking foot.
Exactly. I'd be a monumental dick if I didn't share with them. So I kind of had to share. And then the reselling thing, I also didn't do it because I just was too lazy.
Dude, that sounds too much work.
There was a period just before I went to university actually where I couldn't find a job, where I did start reselling some shoes here and there, but not to the extent that the kids do it now, where they're like they'll buy like stock from like a shop and shit and be flexing, covering their face on Instagram and shit. I never did that sort of stuff because I was kind of fortunate enough to always have like shitty bar jobs or like store jobs that could earn me an income, so I didn't need to queue it to buy a shoe. So I'd rather, because I'm somebody that, like, as much as I love to buy this stuff, I'm definitely not somebody that's willing to like sleep outside to buy it. I'm not that deep into it. Like, if I can't just buy it now, I'm not going to be into it. And if anything, if you make me do that, it will make me not want to buy it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if I can make, I don't know, a bit of money just, giving people pints in a bar that can then allow me to buy something that I actually can buy easily, I'll probably do that. So I was lucky that I escaped it because, again, I had to share with my brothers and because I just didn't really care about reselling that much. And I also wanted to like, build a career, have a job and shit. So that kind of pulled me out of the whole resale side. But the Brendan kind of style of sneakerheads I've always hated, because those type of people, they don't really have any taste in shoes. They just like buy the thing that's the most expensive, the most limited, the shiniest, the most colorful, just for the like
status.
total
Yeah,
hype
exactly.
beast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
and
it's like the male version of like wearing a fucking Birkin bag on your feet. That
yeah,
you don't use the bag, it's no utility in it. You're just wearing it so people know, oh shit, he's got those shoes, he's got
Right.
those Dior Jordan ones. They're like however much they are, as opposed to like, do you actually like them? Do you like the shoe? Do you
Do
like
you
the
wear
brand?
them?
Yeah, it's like whatever. Yeah.
well,
hate it.
I missed a lot of the Shab talk, but Shab, I was like you. When I left, you were saying you were a fan of the Fighter and the Kid, and it was a good podcast at first when he was like grinding still in the
Oh
UFC.
yeah, it was really, really good.
But then he jumped into like jumping on every single trend. Basically, it was like, oh, he's doing the diet trend, this diet trend. Now he's doing the fashion trend. Now he's doing the sneakerhead trend. Now he's doing whatever. He was always trying to get a new thing. It seemed like, and he got into the sneakerhead and hype beast stuff right at the peak of it, of course, and that's when he totally did his thing.
Yeah, I need to. I was thinking about. I need to because I just get too lazy. But I really want to make a video kind of going over some of his best lies because I love some of his lies. I think they're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But I also want to make a video where I try and pinpoint, at least from my point of view, where it kind of went wrong, because I kind of feel like you're kind of going in the right direction. Maybe it was that kind of shift when he started to like jump into things, because there was a time where he was just like a normal like Chad bro meathead guy
Right.
that was
Right.
just that would just say the odd funny thing here and there. But then something happened where he started to like see himself as like, I don't know who someone to describe. Like he started seeing himself as like Laird Hamilton or like David Goggins. Like he saw himself as like an amalgamation of like Elon Musk, David
Bill Maher.
I
Like,
think
you
it
know
was
what?
Dalia, bro.
Bigger.
I think it was him
It's
hanging out with
Dalia?
Dalia. Yeah,
The
Dalia.
crazy cult
Yeah.
guy.
I think he wanted to try to become like a flashy guy.
Yeah,
Or he
maybe
used
that was part of it. Maybe that was part of it because back then we also forget because of all the shit that happened. But Dalia back then was also a big fucking deal,
I remember.
Mhm.
He saw-
massive deal.
yeah.
He was kind of like It's hard to describe. He was kind of like, but he was basically he was well rounded because he could do comedic acting, he could also do proper acting, and he also looked good on camera. Like he was like
Right.
he was like a sex symbol or whatever. So that was
Right.
something that you don't really find a lot with a lot of comedians in that sort of field. So he was able to get quite a lot of roles, whatever it may be. And obviously he had he had a cool, funny type of personality. So maybe that was part of it. But whatever it was, that shift was weird because it felt like it was happening really fast for a long time. And then it just stopped. No, sorry. It was happening really fast for a long time. And then everyone realized at the same time that's the thing that's really unfortunate with Brendan. It's not like when he turned or when he started to turn into an unlikable person, some of his fans were still like, nah, man, he's okay. You guys are over exaggerating. No. No, it's like we all like saw it at the same time. We were all exposed to it at the same time. It was like, shit, this guy is like turning into an animal. And some people on the Reddit, I see some people say that, oh, it was around the time that he started to dye his hair because there was a period
Yeah,
where
he's
he was like,
painting his nails too and
yeah,
shit.
he was doing work on E, exactly, where he started to like
Yep.
he started to become like he started to think he was like a metrosexual type of dude, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's true. I think there's definitely moments, and again, I'll have to do the work to kind of go and watch some of the videos, which is going to be excruciating. But I'm sure there's a point that you can pinpoint where he started to like you said, where he was starting to like jump into things like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be this guy, I'm gonna be that guy, and like even now with the car thing, it's like he legit like I wouldn't be surprised because my theory, what I said about him selling the shoes, I don't think that's even true. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just not wearing the shoes because he wants to look like a regular dude. So he's just wearing like regular plain shoes
Right.
with a white t-shirt and a trucker
Some
hat.
Asics
like,
or something.
exactly. So like that's how mad he is. Like he would rather just he's the kind of person which I never understood, where he'd much rather try and act like somebody he wants to be as opposed to just be that person. Like
Right.
you don't need to do all this posturing, all this nonsense. Like if you're into the cars, you're into the cars, whatever. But trying to put this uniform on with the trucker hats and the fucking donut channel merch and
Or the whiskey. Remember, he used to not be a drinker, and then now he's a whiskey aficionado. It's
Dude,
like so many different things he
I
did.
think he just doesn't know who he is at all as a person, honestly.
but that's sad, bro. He's like 41 years old, bro.
Dude, that happens all the time to actors and shit, dude. Have you seen that with actors?
He's an actor though. He's just a regular dude.
You just said he's a great actor. He's a great
No.
comedian.
No.
You did though.
He was talking about Dalia. We're back on Chow.
Oh shit, my bad. Fuck, dude. That's my bad. Homie.
Brendan Schaub's not a good actor. I think you should see Brendan Schaub. He's in that. Watch Brendan Schaub's acting role. What was that movie that he played? He played like a bodyguard. If you want to see Brendan Schaub's acting,
The Ghost Hunt, or God, what was it called? I've seen it. Yeah.
If you want to see his acting, you should watch that. It's fucking horrendous. But
All right, I'm sorry.
He looks at the camera. Yeah.
yeah. So no, but what I was saying with the whole Brendan thing is, it's like, especially with the acting and wanting to like get into stuff, it's just like there's nothing wrong with being like let's say he's not middle-aged, but let's say like an adult male with kids,
right,
who just wants to find things to do to keep you busy. Like we're all men. No. You know how it is, like, especially for me. Like I remember at the time when I was into, like, I was heartbroken when I woke up one day and I just stopped watching wrestling. I don't know what happened in my brain, but I was super into wrestling, and then one day I just stopped watching and I couldn't watch it again. And and the same thing happened with me with fucking video games. I just woke up one day and I stopped playing them.
Yeah,
and you have to find, as a man, you just have to find shit to fill the time, because you just get bored. So there's no shame in just picking up golf at like 40. There's no shame in suddenly getting into fucking flamenco at 57. Whatever fucking, makes you happy and fills your time and gets you out there and shit, whatever, do it. But he has this thing where he has a need to like get into something to fill time, to stay away from his family, or to do his own thing. But he also wants to appear like an expert know-it-all thing. It's like,
No, exactly. That's what he does. He's like, oh yeah, I wanted to be a comedian since I was 4 years older. I've wanted to get a Porsche since I was 4 years older. I wanted to collect Rolexes since I was 5. Or he everything he gets into, he's like, no, this has always been my thing. But you can tell he just got into it. So
like, there's no shame. There's no shame in being one of, like, imagine you're Rogan's friend. It's amazing. You're Rogan's friend. He's one of the most famous people in the world. He's a literal kingmaker, and he does stand-up comedy. Even if he played basketball or whatever he did, it's quite natural for you to like copy that, because he's your friend and he's also super successful. You'd be an idiot not to at least try it, because he's your fucking friend and he's super successful. He might be able to change your life with it. So just to do stand-up, hey, I started stand-up comedy because of Rogan, because I saw him making tons of money doing it, even though he's not that funny himself, right?
Right.
I just wanted to give it a shot, and now I've kind of given it a shot. I've now developed a love for it, and I wanted an appreciation for it, and now I'm into it, whatever. But then, no, like you said, he started off saying, "Oh, I've always wanted to be an SNL. My hero was Jim Carrey. I never really went to be an athlete. Yeah, I never really went to be an athlete. I always wanted to be a comedian, but my parents." But it's like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? What is this? Like, he reminds me of those guys that went to college, the guys that you went to high school with, who then go to like college and then try to reinvent themselves. It's like, bro,
So you ain't fooling nobody, buddy. Come on,
dude. If Chow was like 10 years younger, he would have for sure gotten into the pickup artist movement. That was like popular in the early. Like he was just a little too late for that. But
did you see that guy on YouTube actually? What's his name? Is it the Board something? The Board Explorer, Board and something. The guy that does the videos where he goes to like crazy places around the world. Anyway, there's a subsection of YouTube where people will go and travel to crazy places and around the world and just film how people live.
Yeah. I love that shit.
So there's this one particular guy. He's called like the Board something. I forgot his name. He's in a bit of controversy now because people are finding out that he has a deep PUA history, he's like real social dynamics, like that type of era. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that a lot of those guys like reinvented, like a lot of those guys did really good reinventing themselves. Like you wouldn't know that they were into that shit back in the day, and they were writing like field reports about how many girls they smashed and shit, like and they were posting like undercover video pictures. It's quite impressive how most of them have been able to kind of dodge all the fucking cancellations,
Right.
No doubt.
Have you ever reinvented yourself?
However, reinvented myself, not really, to be fair.
You've always been kind of straight arrowed.
Not straight arrowed, not to that extent. Like when I get hobbies or interests that I like them openly, honestly, and I want to learn, and I get really deep into it. So I'm always kind of looking to sponge up new information, and I'm also a type of person that likes to see things with my own eyes. So if I get into a band, I want to see them play. then I want to follow them around, then I might start reading interview. Like I'm that, but
Right.
I'll
You
do
look them up on Wikipedia.
exactly, but I'll do it aloud. I won't just like pretend, oh yeah, I've always been into fucking My Bloody Valentine. Yeah, I'll just do it when I was 6. It's like, come on, bro.
That's because you're a real motherfucker.
Like, you saw, like I heard the tune playing on the TV series. I Shazammed it. I like the song. Now I'm researching it, and I'll be honest and open with it. It's not a bad thing. Like, who gives a
Right.
fuck when you get into something?
Yeah.
As long as you're into it. But some people, and again, the Brendan thing is like, even what he said about the whiskey thing, I meant like there was a period where he was talking about barrels. And now look at him.
It's been aging for a long time.
Well, that's the thing, and I think one of the best things that has come out of Shab that I know you really enjoy too is Chin. Chin is like his little like sidekick, like Frankenstein. Who is Frankenstein?
Who's Chin? Who's Chin? I need to hear this.
Chin is his producer. He's this Korean dude who is he's been by Brendan's side since basically day one of
Vietnam.
TFATK Studios, and he's even started streaming himself. And I don't know how to describe him. He's loyal to T, and he plays music. He's somewhat talented, but he's also like somewhat absent-brained. I don't know. What do you say, AZ?
So he's the perfect employee for them because he just gets on with the job. So Chin's basically their producer, but he's also like, he probably does the job of like 3 people in one because he can just do that. He has I think if I don't know, I forgot what I think he did like something in TV. Maybe it was ESPN. I forgot what he did, but he did something. He did production somewhere else.
Right.
And then he applied for the role to be a producer for The Fire and the Kid when their original guy called Evan the Beard. He didn't leave, but when the contract negotiations with Fox broke down and they had to do their own thing, Evan the Beard obviously stayed at Fox. They needed a new producer. He applied, and he was perfect because he can just do he's like a one-man machine. Like, he doesn't need help. He doesn't need an assistant. He doesn't need their input. He can just do shit. And he's also like, he doesn't really have much to say. He's kind of quiet and shy and keeps to himself. So that also helps because he doesn't really push back or question the guy, especially Brendan. He doesn't really like that sort of thing. But then outside of that, he's a bit...
I was going to say he's Asian as shit too. So he'll work like 23 hours a day. He's got no life. So he'll like go on the road with Brendan and like carry his bags. Like he's so subservient to him.
And the funny thing is, isn't he older than Brendan as well?
Yeah. So,
but then he calls Brendan his big brother and shit. Like he's got that kind of weird thing about it, like, yeah, big bros. Like, so, but I think a lot of that comes from him being very traditionally Asian as well, like having that kind of respect and shit.
Yeah.
Like, kind of very like, subservient or whatever to people that he deems to be his elders, people that are paying him. But to be fair, my sort of like ribbing him aside because his lifestyle outside of working for TFATK is fucking hilarious. The vlogs that he does are fucking some of the best and worst things you've ever seen. But I think as a person, he deserves everything from those guys because the stuff he puts up with them, the stuff he has to do for them, he deserves to be paid like whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I think from what I've been able to surmise, it's pretty safe to say that they pay him whatever they can get away with paying him. They definitely don't acknowledge the work that he does by kind of giving him more. They definitely just whatever they can afford to get away with because they can kind of do it. And because he has no life, it doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Because he doesn't really do much outside of just record. That like record the show for them. He literally has zero life out of that. So
yeah, no doubt. No, I think so. And yeah, like I enjoy some of his videos too, and he's just been a great character along this journey of watching Shab basically. And we could go over.
It's kind of depressing.
It is, but it seems like he enjoys it, and he stepped in front of the camera a little bit himself, and who knows where he'd be without being on TFATK. I don't think his music would have blown up, or I don't think his vlog would have been as popular, but not that he's
just wild that he's that important. Like, for sometimes I think it's a little bit bad for them that they've been podcasting for so long, and if Chin was to leave, they would be fucked.
No, that's true.
Because they'd have to either hire more people, get someone to do his job on that same salary, which probably isn't going to happen, especially nowadays, or learn to do it themselves. Because I get the feeling like I don't think Brendan knows how to set up a stream, or like, you know what I mean? So it's like they're an odd bunch. They've been doing podcasting and streaming in some sense for a very long time they were really on it early, but they have no real technical skills. But then for Chin, that's obviously a good thing for him because it makes him way more important to those guys because they can't afford to lose him. They fired a bunch of people, like, you know, the T-Fat-K, like on the part of the law about them is that they always firing somebody. Like Brendan's always gadooshing somebody. There's like
They fired Mark Harley and shit. I remember that.
There's like a fucking
R.I.P. my
immemorial.
boy.
Yeah, there's an amazing in memoriam poster that somebody did on the Firing Kids Reddit of all the people that have been fired along the way. Like, it's fucking incredible. There's dogs there. There's all this fucking shit on there.
Yeah.
So the fact that Chin
Chow,
is still there is a testament. So big up Chin.
that's hilarious. Yeah, I forgot. Chow, but like every couple years wants to buy some like $50,000 dog, and then he has to give it away like a couple weeks later.
And that is another one as well. Like another indication we said before. It's like, you can't just buy like a pug or something. You always have to buy like some crossbreed. Yeah, RB Tank, exactly. You have to buy some like dog that was like meant to be used in the fucking Slovenian special forces. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? It's just, honestly, it's fucking insane. And I love whenever it happens. I love the episode after when like he gets asked and he's like sheepishly like, you know, dogs are dogs.
Dogs are dogs.
I don't go to Chang's that much anymore, and I haven't been following. But one of the last things I saw he was getting into was the fish tanks, and I went through that phase at one point in life where I had like a bunch of fish tanks, and I got into having fish. I got one tank now, and it's manageable.
Dude,
but
my buddy tried giving me that shit.
That's
Man.
the thing. There's nothing wrong with being the guy that gets into spiders, snakes, whatever. We all know them. I've got a fucking cousin that's like that. It's whatever. Get into the thing you're into. But it's just the way that he picks it up and then just drops it. And considering the amount of like money that's being spent, considering the mistreatment of the fucking animals and themselves as well, by the way, you're just buying these things and then you're putting them in bad fucking environments. They get dying. They get
PHO levels probably aren't good. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
No consideration. Just, oh, I'm into this thing. It doesn't work out. And then you're fucking, that's the thing that, again, I'm not even like a pet person or anything, but that sort of stuff annoys me because it's like, why do all of that and fuck up their shit
because they're beneath them,
just to fucking flex on the fucking video, and then you're going to be pouring it all into the fucking drain tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, he was. I could tell right away he was overstocking his tanks. He's putting like flower horns in with like non-compatible species. He's like doing all this dumb shit. And then he's acting like an expert too.
Here's the thing that you're saying. What you're saying here, I had no idea. So I have a cousin and a couple of friends that are doing the whole like, you know, tarantula thing with the snakes and shit. So I'm aware of how that world is. But I had no idea until Brendan bought the fish and started doing the tanks. I had no idea how much work goes into that shit. Then I fucking stumbled across the Reddit for it. And honestly, the posts and the threads on there are insane. The amount of fucking time, effort, money that gets spent to keep those fucking things, you know, alive and shit, right? And I was thinking, no way is Brendan gonna do this. It's impossible. There's guys on here writing fucking essays about how to fucking
nuts, dude. It goes
change the water filtration system. And this Brendan guy is like talking about, oh, Rick Ross DM me. It's like Rick Ross DM me about my tank. It's like, bro, you got your priorities fucked up, bro. Like, honestly, there are people here talking about literal fucking filters and literal fucking rubber rings and what to put on and which one weighs like
certain water levels, certain like pH levels, all that shit, dude. Like it's a scientific thing, and he has no fucking idea. He's just trying to get clicks.
And I wonder how many tanks he has left now. I wonder. I'm really curious.
He ain't taking care of them.
No, it's hilarious, bro. Let's touch on one more thing that I know you're into is Yay. So what's your take on the Vultures 1 rollout?
Oh man, it's been a bit it's been pretty chaotic, but also pretty fun. And the music obviously has been really great. I feel like for some reason, I think the other day actually, I went back and listened to a few of the albums from Dondo and also Backwards and stuff, and these obviously other legendary albums, and it's quite impressive when you think about like maybe even including the gospel phase, the Jesus King phase. It's actually quite impressive how he's been able to actually do. You might not like all the albums, but in my opinion, I think objectively speaking, all of the albums, even from Jesus is King until now, have kind of all been like a 6 out of 10. And it's quite impressive to do that, considering all the shit that he gets himself into during the time he's making the album. So the fact that he's been able to do this and have it be number one, have it do all these numbers, all these listening parties around the world that are selling out and shit, and organic numbers, no fucking manipulation, no help from the industry, of course, because of all his, that crazy anti-Semitism tour that he went on and shit. Right. It's just a testament to like his talent, and another example of like, we don't have a lot of them, I don't think, in society, like, but he's a proper like, wasn't even celebrity, he's a proper superstar. We don't have a lot of them in like culture, like people that can legitimately sell tickets, can legitimately get people to buy clothes,
just
like,
do it.
Because he's just that person. Like, he can make people like, go fucking crazy. And it's all despite of all the stuff he says that it's obviously taboo, that you shouldn't say, that would get you cancelled, that would kill your career. And it just goes to show that, the
he's still
talent, and he unfortunately for people that don't like him, he's just that guy when it comes to music. Maybe the fashion thing, he's a bit hit and miss, the shooting, whatever. But when it comes to his actual bread and butter, which is making music, like there's none other. He's
exactly. Yeah, no, and I even loved all that. Like the one he did out in Wyoming, and then Kids See Ghosts, Jesus is King, Donda. I liked all that shit. It was so different, dynamic in its own way, depending on what was going on in his life. And
they're all they're all different sounding, all of them amazing.
And this Vultures one has been great. It's a really, really cool, impressive album from top to bottom. All the dynamics that are in it, and
didn't you say? Oh, go ahead. Did you say the Vatican even got involved and told him to change the fucking title of one of his tracks because they're like, "Hey, you gotta change that shit."
I think Problematic. Because I follow all the leaks too. I only listen to. I like Kanye, Pink Floyd, and Beethoven, and otherwise,
amazing.
So I like all the leak stuff, and I think he was initially trying to call Problematic the one towards the end where he was trying to call it Vatican, and they axed it. Yeah, so that's why I called it Problematic, because it starts off with like got Pope like the leader of the Vati,
That's insane. I didn't know that. Yeah. So that again, I think, is more testament to his genius and to his artistry and creativity and shit. That despite all the media storm, all the negativity around him, he's able to do that. He's able to create at that sort of level. And for me as a fan, it makes you wonder, like, if he did have the backing of the industry and he was a bit of a media darling or an industry darling, just imagine how much better the music would be, because he'd have more access. Because that's the thing people don't see, because he's so cancelled and shit, but he's so popular still. You don't see all the stuff that he kind of doesn't. Because I think he mentions it sometimes in lyrics and stuff, but the recording studios he's not allowed to go to, the people he can't access to write things, like producers he can't use, all because of, he said he loves Hitler and shit, right? But it shows that how high level he is, that he literally was able to get a #1 album and a #1 single that included fucking Rich the Kid.
Rich the Kid. He's a fucking feature in there, bro.
He's listening to Rich the Kid in 2024, and he somehow was able to fucking pluck that kid out of obscurity just because he had no one else. Probably because he would probably prefer to work with fucking, not maybe Big Sean because they've kind of fallen out, but he'd probably prefer to work with fucking Yeet or somebody. But Yeet's label's like, no, we're not fucking. You're going nowhere near our fucking artist because of how controversial you are. So he has to kind of make amends and get Ty Dolla $ign, have people and for me, I've always loved that about him. Like, he's always about and I think it's going back to what we said before about the streaming thing. He's always about the quality of the product and how good it is. Like, he doesn't care if it's like this person, that person, what your status is, how long you've been in the game. Are you the best fit? Will you contribute to creating the best album for the fans, for the community, for the world, whatever, and you get you on board. And I think that kind of resonates. And for like I said, myself as a fan, and then the other thing as well you mentioned before with him is just the ability to just take chances on the albums, like how none of them sound the same. Like, I think maybe this Vultures compilation, when it's obviously done, this series of 3, this might be the only one that might end up sounding a bit similar, because there'll be stuff that would have been on 1 that's going to be on 2, that would have been on 3. But every one of his albums, they're all completely different. And no one does that. Even fucking Drake, one of the biggest artists, like he doesn't even do that, right? He probably just does kind of similar sounding music for most of his albums. But
It
Kanye
is,
at least
yeah.
takes a fucking chance. Like he'll go and make a fucking album about how much he loves Jesus. Then suddenly he's talking about, you know, fucking girls in the arse and shit. Like,
Yeah.
come on, bro. The range is incredible.
Right.
Well, he's got so much in the back. I like I mentioned the leaks. There's a bunch of guys who like have leaks, and he has like unreleased music over the last like 5 years. That's better than anything that like any other mainstream person's put out. So he's
Yandy alone.
yeah, is a
The
famous
Yandy album that got scrapped is probably better than most albums that have come out in the last 5 years. Just that
so
album alone. So I can't imagine how much better the leaks are in totality. Oof.
yeah, exactly. So he's just very prolific, and I'm always I can't wait for the second part to come out. It seems like it got pushed back to the beginning of May now.
Yeah, I saw you said that.
Oh, it is.
He said May 3rd or 4th or something like that.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Any features on that or no?
I imagine it would be.
I think, at one listening party, they're playing that IG Models, it was called at one point, and it had Future on it.
Oh, fuck, Future's on it, bro.
Yeah, that's a great
Right.
song. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch. I think he was trying to do a new body with Ice Spice or something.
Ice Spice
Ice Spice.
and Doja Cat. I think he was trying to get them to do, because I think the original had Nicki Minaj. She doesn't want to do it anymore, and he was trying to get that verse to be filled in by either Doja or Ice Spice. To be fair, I would like to see either of them. I think Ice Spice would be a good challenge for her to kind of like step her quote unquote bars up and see if she can kind of present another image of herself. For someone like a Doja Cat, I've always been a big fan of hers. I think artistically, sonically, I think they would mix really well on a track together. But again, he's just so flammable that if you're being objective, those girls are like under 25 and shit.
Yeah,
it's probably not necessary to kind of hitch your wagon to Ye now. You should probably do your own thing now. Hope he has like a good couple of years where he doesn't say he likes Hitler anymore, and then you can come back around. But it's a bit too like, if I was advising them, I would tell them to like chill. There's no need to like, you know, there's a reason why people like Sexy Red or some people haven't really like tried to get involved with Ye. It's just not worth it at the moment when you're trying to build your career, because he's only one.
I wish Young Lean would be on the next album.
That'd
bro.
be
That'd be
amazing,
nuts.
man.
Dude, Young Lean hopped on that shit, bro. That'd be nuts.
What about what's your take on the whole Playboy Cardi phenomena?
Oh, I'm a big fan of it because I've been a fan of his since the beginning too. I followed his career from the time he was on fucking what's that awful, is it Awful Records with Father? I forgot his record label, what the name of it was called, but I've been a fan of him since he had really, really short braids basically. And I've loved the fact that he's always kind of been the way he's been. That's what people that really don't understand, this whole like mysterious thing that he has going on. He's been doing that since the beginning, but he's just always been like Kanye, also been putting out great music. So it's another testament of like, it's not about the marketing, it's not about doing this hot song, it's not about having this hot girl, whatever. It's just about making amazing art, amazing music, amazing content for your fans that love it, and then just keep pushing it and being obviously super consistent. And then over time, another thing that's kind of really elevated him has been the live shows. The live shows have been one of the things that have really taken him to like crazy heights. And I've always said that the one thing that I don't like about Carti is that he doesn't really say much to these records, but then he doesn't really perform his records either. He just kind of essentially he does what Ye does, like kind of like these listening sessions, but he just kind of like ad libs and hype mans his own songs. Right. I actually think if he actually did perform them and you heard him fucking doing the baby voice into the mic, you heard he's fucking, you know, like regular bands do, right, singing to the thing, I think it would actually elevate him. Like I always think back to that legendary clip of DMX at fucking what festival?
Woodstock 99.
Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that's what,
dude, that shit goes dub.
There was a period in time where hip hop, when it was performed at festivals, that's what it sounded like, and that's what would get people to like, oh my god, shit, I'm actually into it now. I remember there was a legendary set similar to that featured Jay-Z. I think he performed at Glastonbury, and he was kind of the first hip hop act that played at Glastonbury. And I think iconically, Liam Gallagher or somebody criticized it and didn't want him to perform there, and he basically then decided to do the whole set, you know, like kind of a cappella, kind of acoustic, whatever it was, and it sounded fucking phenomenal, because you don't really get to hear hip hop that way. So I think if you're a Carti, to really take yourself to the next fucking level, fuck having your vocals on a track, strip the vocals, have somebody like how he has the guy with the guitar kind of, playing a lot of the stuff live and actually sing into that mic. Like actually let people hear you as you're fucking up the words, whatever, running out of breath. That's when he's really gonna go up above. But I think why would you bother doing that if you're
That's
already
too hard,
making
bro.
if you're already making 100
Yeah.
grand, half a mil for like a
Fuck it, might as well just have the track
rolling level.
play and just sing over it with it.
So I get it. He's 27. He's making,
Right.
millions literally every summer. There's no need to do it. And I think, from what I understand as well, like the more you increase that stuff, live performance wise, it all comes out of your pocket. It doesn't come out of theirs. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's one of the main issues. But I would love to hear that because one of the things I kind of bums me out about hip hop because I'm into quite a lot of music and shit is that there's not really a respect. There's not really a respect for the like live audience or the live shows. They're kind of really
Live shows are more for like the
low,
hype and shit. Like
they're really low effort. They don't really do a lot to kind of like make you want to come back. Like I've been to a few hip hop shows where you're like, you know what, I'm never seeing you again because the guy was literally just screaming over an MP3, and it's like, come on, man. Yeah.
Well, I think because of how country music and rock music and
I can't stand
rap music, all this stuff is gone, like the way of pop to some extent. I think Cardi is like the only real rock star right now on earth. He's like a true rock star in the way he performs. He comes out there. He does, and that's why these younger people at these festivals, he's the number one draw everywhere he goes because of that show he puts on.
I believe that.
So I think that's the void he's filling. He's like the biggest rock star now. And Kanye's just Kanye. So he's like a rock star / now he's like his own thing. But like Cardi's like that young, like that gets everyone going nuts.
I mean, look at the rock stars back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, you're supposed to be controversial, say crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why people are acting like this is some new shit that's coming up and they're like, oh, it's taboo. It's like, no, you're supposed to say crazy shit.
And I really I hope this happens because to really show how much, because that's the thing that's like scary about him is that there's not really a lot of people like on his level competition wise. Even someone like a Rocky, Rocky kind of came in like his mentor and he's surpassed A$AP Rocky clearly musically. But I would love it if Carti decides when he drops the album, none of those tracks that he put out are on there. They were just like throwaways. That would be such a flex. Like you put those tracks out that a lot of people would legitimately frame their whole career on, right? The music videos that were memes and shit, and he puts out an entire album that sounds nothing like those tracks. And it's just that would be the ultimate flex. I'd love that. That would be a very like a yay thing to do with Yandy, right? Yandy, oh my god, Yandy just scraps it. Donda, here you go.
Is there something else?
No, I want to ask you because I saw you were covering it, but I didn't get the full story on this. What's the deal with Yes Jules and Milo Yiannopoulos Kanye triangle thing going on?
So Yes Jules, how to describe her? She's kind of like this industry insider type person. I've known her a lot. I've known of her more because I was I don't know why maybe just because I've followed music stuff. I've kind of known of her because she's always been doing marketing and social media. She was kind of early in terms of having people do marketing pushes on social media, whatnot, especially Snapchat. And she had this like 1 a.m. radio thing that she did and this whole like never not working sort of slogan. Long story short, she's been around for a while. She's also associated with like Rolling Loud and Extentacion. So she's got a lot of that kind of cachet and kind of clout from like, I wouldn't say blowing up underground artists, but always kind of being around and interested in certain people. And I think the most iconic person that she's sort of like managed in the past was the artist fucking 070 Shake. I'm not sure if you know her, right?
Yeah, she was on a couple of Ye's tracks.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what she's famous for. And then I guess around that time, she also featured 070 Shake was also was on some Ye things. And I think that might have been where the relationship started because I think she said online that she's actually been working for Ye since the fucking since the Wyoming album.
Wyoming, yeah.
So that probably would explain where she's been around. Anyway, long story short, she was on the rollout for Vultures. She was part of the marketing people doing that. And I guess the issue from what I can surmise was that she wasn't meant to be communicating about what they were doing as a team to the fans. So she was in charge of the marketing and the rollout and doing that. But what she was doing on the side was that she was communicating with a lot of the Ye fan pages that I'm sure you're aware of on Twitter and stuff. There's a big community of those pages who do a really good job in terms of informing people about what Ye's are doing and shit. So she was getting them involved, which I thought was pretty cool. She would kind of like, you know, tell them, hey, if you've got an order that you need me to look up, she will check it up for you and get it sent to you, whatever. Like, just, you know, kind of just being like the go-to person, kind of like an in-between insider person. Then they got to a point where she was like, oh, let's ramp this up a bit and let's get you guys involved. And she started to pitch projects that they could do, like start an app, maybe do listening parties and to help kind of push the album. And I think it was also around the time where Carnival was kind of like, you know, vying for #1 position, all this sort of stuff. So in my opinion, I thought she was being quite, what's that word called? She was using her initiative. But I guess behind the scenes, that wasn't what she was meant to do. And then obviously Ye ended up firing her very publicly. And from what I can surmise, I just feel like she's a bit embarrassed and she's trying to defend herself online. Because if you're looking into it, it's not that big of a deal. Ye didn't like her talking to the fans or somebody in the team. And you know, they decided to fire her. I guess the other extra caveat in it is that she clearly has some sort of issue with Milo Yiannopoulos. So Milo is working weirdly as Yeezy's chief of staff. So I guess she's had some sort of issue with him, mostly because of his politics and what he said in the past. So they've have some sort of, and then I guess he has maybe not missed an opportunity to talk bad about her to Ye. That's probably what's probably happened. And I've assumed Ye also, you know, he's a weirdo. He likes, you know, Ye, he likes people that he loves a cancelled person. Just the other day I saw a video of like Diddy at one of the at the listening party. You see it? He was there. Yeah, so he like Ye loves a cancelled person. I love that time where he was like running around screaming R. Kelly innocent. So he loves
R. Kelly innocent.
Yeah, it's like he's a fucking psycho. He believes in the fact that no one should ever be cancelled. It's like, brother, do you know sometimes cancellations are like just the nice way of like punishing somebody because they can't be punished for their crimes. Like sometimes when it comes to Ye, he kind of boggles my mind, but I love it. So in short, she got fired for talking too much. She maybe is a bit embarrassed because she's been fired very publicly. It's obviously a good job, even if it's not, the money's not good. The clout and the cash and connections you get from it are probably out of this world. The fact that she got, you know, in that way is horrible. And yeah, man, she's crying online, and I don't know what to believe. The $8 million figure about her breaking the NDA is insane. That's the kind of number that I would unalive myself for. He seems to be okay with still posting pictures of a bum, so maybe it's not that bad. Who knows? Let's see how it works out for her, but it's a bit crazy.
Hey, on a side note, on the canceled people, did you you know Josh Denny, right? Who he is?
Who's Josh Denny? I've heard of the name. Who's Josh Denny?
He's a guy Red Bar's covered for a long time. He used to be a co-host to this guy Patrick Melton, Nobody Likes Onions, and he became a canceled guy. He kind of works with like Anthony Cumia, some of these comedian guys, but supposedly I don't think he's lying, but him and Kanye had a call at one point.
Yeah, no, I believe that to be true. I believe that to be true. I believe that to be true because remember there was a time where I think Kanye met Laura Loomer. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and Kanye did Gavin McInnes' show.
So come on, like those people, they like, you know, and if anything about those people, which again, some of them are fucking batshit crazy and talk out of their ass. But one thing you got to give them credit for, they're very good at like jumping on like clout opportunities. So if there's an opportunity to like meet Ye and talk to him and shit, like Candice was like a good friend of Ye's for a while, you know, obviously, you know, Milo's been fired like I feel like 7 times. Like I feel like, and he's still there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised if he's met all those guys completely. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest that he's met those guys. And also, you have to also assume. So you also have to remember, Ye's a fan of stand-up. He's always been a big stand-up guy. So it's, I mean, he could always be convinced to be those guys' friends because they're funny. They say crazy shit. They say risque shit around him. Like he'd love it. He'd love it. Yeah.
Owen Benjamin's another one who supposedly they talk all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he'd love. It's in the same sphere.
He'd love Owen Benjamin. I think they'd share a lot of the same opinions about the world and shit. Yeah, he'd love Owen Benjamin.
Now, did you get in on any of that? The new rollout of like the Gosha stuff on his website and the $20 hoodies and
Yeah. So yeah, I got a few bits of it, but none of it's been shipped.
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I bought a bunch of gear too because how can you turn down $20?
Yeah, it's like and to be fair, when it comes to, I don't know if you're the same. When it comes to buying like merch from artists and shit, I never really expect it to come. I just sometimes I buy it knowing that it might not come, but I'm just giving them money because I like them, you know. So it's just like whatever. If it comes, because usually I've had some sometimes like come like a year later. You're like, what the fuck is this? You're like, oh shit, it's a shirt that I ordered like whenever I went to this festival, and now this shirt's coming now. So it will eventually come. You know, it will come out. That's actually an insight that yes, Jules did provide when I was listening to her space. She did say, unfortunately, there is no one person looking after that shit. Like that's actually on top of it. There's no one doing it. So whenever the factory gets around to manufacturing it and actually pressing the button, cool. But there's no one person that's like, you know, following up and like liaising between Yeezy and the fact like it's just a Dove guy who's kind of handling that stuff. But he's obviously got these other clients that he works with, like, you know what I mean? He's not going to be answering customer service emails. Basically, there's no customer service.
I'll say I did get I emailed him when Vultures dropped first. He had the shirts for 80, and I accidentally got a size 1 because it was just defaulted to that. Yeah. And I emailed them and I was like, oh shit, I need a size 2 because it's 1, 2, or 3, right?
Yeah.
And they emailed me back and they're like, well, you got to we can cancel it. So I did get an email back from Yeezy Supply customer support, and they canceled it. And then they dropped the price, and I ended up buying all the right stuff and the right sizes. Yeah. But I'm in the same boat. I'm sitting here waiting for nothing. So
I think eventually it will come. I think it will come because I think a lot of people bought it. From what I've been able to surmise from Ye bragging about the sales figures and what yes Jules says, they did receive a lot of orders. So I think we'll be fine. I think they'll eventually get them because many people have bought the stuff, and a lot of the stuff was quite good. A lot of the shirts and pants and the hoodies and shit. Unfortunately, I missed out on the Gap stuff. Like I wish I would have got one of the Gap hoodies, the zip ups, but yeah, I missed out on the Gap shit. But I bought some of the other stuff. I think I basically got a couple of sets, a pair of pods, and maybe 2 other t-shirts. I think that might be it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it. You know, at least see how it wears and all that type of stuff. I have some of his other stuff that I bought from there. Those big box tee type shirts, and they're good. But I'm not a huge streetwear guy. You know, like
yeah. There's big like especially that sort of stuff. Like he loves that. I'll call it like fucking post-apocalyptic wear. You know, that's sort of like the sort of stuff that you'd be able to wear for like years and years and years. Massive shape that can kind of accommodate your weight as it fluctuates throughout the year and shit. But just looks like pure shit, you know.
I know Warren Lotus. You've heard of that guy before?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I know him in real life, and he sends me some stuff sometimes. And it's that same thing. It's like that oversized stuff, but I'm like tall and skinny, so I always like more like form fitted stuff.
Yeah, Warren Lotus is a fucking legend, man. I remember. Yeah. What happened to all those shoes? Did he have to burn all those shoes? Well, those pigeon dunks, right?
He had with the skull on the side or something.
Yeah,
right?
Remember that pigeon? Was it a skull? Yeah, he tried to sell those like.
Yeah. Well, he got sued. Yeah, he got sued by Nike, and then they kind of settled on it out of court, and now he's just doing mainly.
He's got his own brand now, right? Does he got his own brand?
Yeah. He's got his own brand. He's got a store out in LA. That's kind of
wow,
sick.
Sick. Okay, congrats to him. Yeah, I remember that was a big period. I think they've done a good job of. I'd say good job, but I think Nike killed all that stuff. I think a couple of the guys are in prison because there was a period in time where a lot of people were doing those. You remember those fake Jordans? So they'll get a Jordan 1 and just have a gun instead of a swoosh, a star, an A. Everyone was doing their version of it. It was like I think it was a pandemic hustle. Around the pandemic time, people were like becoming like, sneaker editor customer type people, and they'll make crazy amounts of money. And I guess Nike because Nike don't always follow through with the lawsuits. You just are cease and desist, but they really did bring the hammer down. And a lot of those guys basically got wiped out. So that whole scene doesn't really exist anymore. It kind of does, but it's almost like a bespoke one-on-one thing. But that whole like mass selling of like, hey, I'm making these Jordans that aren't Jordans It doesn't exist anymore
No,
because
like you
Nike
said,
find you,
one-on-ones type shit now.
Nike find you, they're gonna fucking crush your shit.
Shab was down with that. Remember, he got like shoe surgeon. He did his like leather shoes for his special, and he's like, they're from the shoe surgeon. He made them specifically for me or something.
And yet he was actually there. I think there's a part of the video where he gives him the shoes at the
Yeah,
show.
yeah, because he made the little documentary about it, right?
Yes, he comes with a box and shit. Like, yo, like it must be like that contrast. I think about it from time to time. I'm like, imagine walking out on that first comedy special stage where he's got his name lit up in the back with like their own little lights on them. The letters themselves look like they're like 10 feet high. They're backed with LEDs. It's in a theater, massive room. Production quality is fucking A1. I don't know if they probably filmed that shit on a red camera. It looks fucking insane, the money they put into it. He comes out in this like satin bomber jacket. He's shoe surgeon, fucking Jordans. His hair is like slicked back with fresh gel, makeup on, like some foundation to cover the spots, and then you go to Gringo Pappy. Gringo Pappy, he's got like this crinkly off-white shirt on in front of the cardboard cutout of the skyline. Like the fans are literally right in front of him. He can feel their breath on his face. It's like, yo, I think that's why I resonate with stand-up, I guess, in some respect, because I kind of do a bit of DJing on the side, but like in bars with like one person in there.
Right.
Like it's brutal when you start like that starting bit, but I can't imagine what it's like to like start like Brendan, where you're like super high, and then you have to go down to doing like the kind of stuff he's doing now, where like, you know, you basically have to quit comedy because no one's going. That must be a weird mind.
That's kind of sad, man. Honestly,
yeah, of course. Which is why I don't take any like pleasure from it, and because again I was a fan more. But I always think about that. I'm like, I sometimes complain that I have to play in places where I'm getting paid in drink tokens to perform for like 5 people that don't want me there. Yet Brendan was playing in theaters, and now he has to play in like
dive bars or whatever the fuck it is.
I don't blame him for quitting. I'm one of the rare people. I think there was one time I said on Reddit and I got downvoted to hell. I don't blame him for quitting. I would have quit too. Fuck, what the fuck you doing, bro? Like you were performing theaters, and now you're playing. You can't fill out fucking comedy clubs in shopping malls. I'm quitting. Fuck that shit.
And I think comedy went through a boom cycle, and it's waning. Like even good, people just after the pandemic and the cost of like going to a show and doing the 2-drink minimum, and now everyone's online. They can watch comedy. It's just oversaturated to the point where
are hilarious now to watch.
Yeah, it's like podcast is kind of taken over, and even that's starting to tire a little. Like stand up. When you watch enough stand up, or you've seen enough of these specials and stuff, you start figuring out the trick of it, so to speak, the magic of it, and it's kind of like once you've seen one, you've seen them all to some extent.
Yeah.
And that's why I actually tell people, like, I think Gringo Pappy is hilarious because it's so absurd, you know, like it's so much. It's one of the only specials I can rewatch and laugh because it's like the Mexican cookie with the salsa on top. It's just like it's so absurd. It's like not anti-comedy, but it's like it's different. Whereas like when you watch like good comics, it's like, okay, you can kind of see what they're gonna say, the joke setup, punchline thing, and it gets formulaic and tiring. Whereas like bad, that's why like Kill Tony like is still good because it's like you don't know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get either someone who's really clever and witty, that's organized, or you're gonna get someone doing it for their first time, and that's the
thing where you bring up Kill Tony was a good example. I think that's when I started to like really kind of feel bad for the guy, because in my opinion, when I watch Kill Tony, sometimes I'm shocked when I hear a person who's absolutely terrible say they've been doing it for 10 years. They're like, whoa, you are doing it for 10 years and you're still this bad. So it's proof that, because there's some people, even myself at the beginning, I was like, oh, Brendan fucked up because he didn't do the whole open mic thing. He went straight to performing in front of his podcast crowds and performing in front of his quote unquote home crowd, instead of kind of doing what comedians do, where you perform on random stages, do open mics, pop in at clubs unannounced, so that you can kind of learn how to play in front of people that don't know who you are. But the proof with Kill Tony is that that doesn't matter. If you're not funny, you're not funny. It doesn't matter who you perform in front of. People are doing it for 10 years and they're shit. But the other really kind of like sad thing about Kill Tony also is that I feel like, I don't know why it is with comedy, but maybe comedy is specific what you said as well about good comedy. I don't think there's that many fans to go around. If you like comedy and you like the really good guys, why would you go and watch Brendan?
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You just go and watch you just go watch fucking
You go watch more David Spade.
Yeah, you're gonna watch Fluffy, you're gonna watch fucking who's the other guy that wears the suits? I forgot his fucking name. Sebastian Maniscalco. You're gonna watch these type of dudes, but why would you go and watch fucking Bert or whatever? Do you know what I mean? So I think whatever fan base you have is what you have. And if you don't have them, it's how you're gonna fucking find them because they're listening to Fluffy and those guys. So it's probably better, especially like you said nowadays, especially with podcasts being the way it is. Just double down on what's actually making you money, and just regrettably let that go because there's just not enough. There's just like you said, there's just not enough fire. Like who's I don't know. Like
No, I agree.
don't know.
And I think like
beers, food, a babysitter for your kid, like to go watch a guy tell dick jokes. Really? Like
I think
You're starting
10
to
to
trigger
15
people in
years
the chat,
ago,
bro.
I think like 10 to 15 years ago, maybe 20 years or 10 to 15 years ago, like going to see comedy for comedy's sake of someone you didn't know might be like a nice surprise. But now it's just everyone's got a podcast, everyone's done something.
Good point.
And they all tell pretty much a version of their act in their podcast too. So that's a disappointment sometimes. Like I'll say this, like I saw Joey Diaz once and it was hilarious, bro. And this was like maybe like 7-8 years ago. And it was great, man. I was laughing my ass off at the show. And I also was a fan. Like I was a big fan of his show back in the day when he was doing it in LA.
I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think unfortunately, because of Rogan's celebrity and because of his ability to make literally touch your head and make you a king, as he's proved with Brendan, I think people kind of unfairly judge his friends as all being unfunny. There are definitely some very funny comedians in that group. I'm even sure even someone like a Bert, if you catch him on the right day, you've got enough drinks in you, you're in a good, like he will definitely make you laugh. I'm sure he'll definitely feel like you spent your money well. But like you said, it's just unfortunate that the good ones are the good ones. So if you see Bert, if you like you said, if you see Bert once and you like him, you're gonna see him again. You're not gonna give some other guy a chance. So that immediately takes you away from being a potential fan of the other person. So it makes it hard then to cultivate a fan base. So it's a pretty difficult profession to actually get people to actually give a fuck about what you have to say, even if you are funny. But then if you, again, like go back to Kill Tony thing, the actual brutal reality of stand-up is that most stand-ups aren't that good. You know what I mean? Most of them are fucking terrible. That's why Kill Tony fucking works, because these people are delusional. They know what they're talking about. They're fucking crazy. They're on the spectrum.
It's like
whatever.
American Idol, somewhat.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing for that. But it does go to show you that it's like, oh, like you like some girl that gets on there. It's like, I've been doing it for 15 years. You're like, you couldn't even do a minute, and you've been doing it for 15 years. Like,
yeah, we had Mark Random on. And we were talking about it a little bit, and he's a huge comedy fan. And he did stand up, and a lot of stand up does come down to the confidence you come up on stage with, the stagecraft of owning the stage, and there is like a hypnosis to the rhythm of telling it. And it is way different when you go see comedy live than just watching the special. When you're in that room and people are laughing, you start laughing. It is different. So, but that's the thing. Those people who do it, I think probably half of them are crazy and are lying when they say they've done it 10 years and they've seemed like it's their first time. Because half the people on Kill Tony are just like tweaker.
I'm off the street. Hey, I just did like a couple shots of heroin.
I oddly start to understand way more why comedians are obsessed with comedy when I start to watch Kill Tony, because I'm a bit of a crazy guy. I like nutty people. Even though I'm not a nutty person myself, I like to be
by the hairdo, bro. You look like your shit. Nutty professor over here.
I like to be surrounded by people who just who live crazy lives, I love all that shit. So I kind of say if you're a comedian and you're around these literal fucking vagabonds, it's quite energizing. It's really good. But also, let's be fair, only a vagabond, only a psycho could purposely go on stage for 10 years, get fucking booed, get phone things chucked at them, not get paid, like all this shit, and keep doing it. No sensible person will do that. So it obviously attracts a certain person. But coming to think of it with Brendan, I think when I was thinking back to Brendan now about the thing, he's just kind of unlucky as well in that extra thing. Because I remember hearing Ari Shafir say it once about like, it's almost impossible for somebody like in their like 30s to just decide I'm a comedian. You kind of have to have either a bit of the psycho lifestyle, crazy background, grew up in a rough family, all this sort of
Got
mad
raped,
shit. Yeah,
you know.
even Joe Diaz is a good example. Like Joe Diaz is obviously he's going to be a good stand-up. Obviously, look at his fucking life. It's impossible not to be funny if you're that person, because it's the only way you can kind of cope with your fucking trauma. But with Brendan, it's like, how can you be when you've had like a collegiate sporting career, you played lacrosse, you were in the football team, you
You're
tried
making
out for a
millions.
fucking NFL, like your dad's a million. It's like it's quite hard to be funny. That's the only
Right.
that's why I kind of feel for him, because it's like you got nothing to tap into, because you kind of had whatever you wanted, you had it. You met Rogan, he made you into a podcast star. You know, there's nothing really to talk, like. What do you got to talk about? Oh, I wanted to get that Colombian, but I ended up with a Mexican. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like I mean, I wanted the fucking Lambo, but I got a Ferrari. Woohoo! It's like,
Well, that's the thing. I think Shab, he wasn't horrible. Like he was good enough to like people could laugh, or like he wasn't like shy or like awful at comedy. Like we can admit, like he kind of knew what he was doing, but he wasn't good.
Would you agree? You'd be surprised it's better than Gringo Papi?
Yeah, it's
like,
better.
now-
It's better as like a technical
Mhm.
stand-up performance, but he definitely regressed. He's lazy as fuck, that's for sure. But I think his problem too is comedians are the most egotistical and jealous motherfuckers, and everyone hated him because he was touring and making money on his own.
Oh yeah.
So
we forget
that was
about
part of
bit
it
as
too.
well.
Yeah,
Ooh,
like
we forget
everyone
about-
hated him that was comics, along with like all the fans hated his redactedness and his boastfulness and bragging and all whatever reason you did or didn't like him. You turned on him, whatever it was with him. I think it was a combination, but he's not. To be fair to him, there's way like if he went on Kill Tony, yeah, he probably bombed too. But he's good enough. Like if he went and did like 5 to 10 minutes at the Laugh Factory, you might be like, yeah, it's kind of dumb, but he's a comedian, you know.
He's not bad enough where he has to quit.
Right, exactly.
That's the really shameful bit about him that's showing him up, because he's only quitting because he's not selling tickets. He's not quitting because he's not funny. That's the thing, because if he wants to be funny, he can work at, because there's bits, regret will say this, but there's bits in the Gringo Pappy where if he would have worked on it a bit more and fleshed it out, there are jokes there. He just does a bad job of like telling them or doing them. He's just horrible at it. So obviously, I'll just
shit.
Yeah.
You scared him off, bro, with all this Brendan Schaub shit.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what can you do, man? What can you do?
I don't know what to say about it. But either way, though, Augie, man, I gotta probably bounce out of here soon, man.
Cool, brother. No worries. It's been fun. It's been fun, my friend.
Yes, sir. Do you have any plugs you want to plug in for the show and everything like that, brother, before we head out of here?
Plugs, yeah, you can find me on the Agostinho Zinga show. All one word. I'll get all one word, but just my name, or just I think put in at and Taz, so Tazs. Find me on YouTube. And obviously there'll be links to all my other social medias on there. So find me on YouTube, but at Taz, available on there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. As always, thank you for coming on, and I pray for the crusade that you got going on with everybody. Hey, Dr. Chow's in real quick. I want him to say goodbye to you too, real quick, before he heads out. We just did plugs, Chow. Is there anything else you want to ask, Mr. Augie or Aggie? Can I say
Aggie, AZ, whatever you want, brother. Aggie, AZ, Augie, whatever you like.
All right, Augie. Anything you want to say to Dr. Chow towards him before we end out of here, man?
I appreciate you coming on, man. I love your insight. It was an honor to have you on, and you're a good dude, man. Keep up the good work. Keep growing your channel.
Yeah, happy to be on here, brothers. Thank you for inviting me.
It was an honor.
Always a pleasure. Never a fucking chore. Been a fucking blast. And we'll see you again on these fucking internet streets.
Peace,
Cheers,
brother.
bro. Thanks.